Hello and welcome to the Story Engine podcast. Today on the show, we have Justin Ricklefs. Justin is the founder of the Guild Collective and the author of the book Give a Damn. And we're going to learn about what it takes to create a human-centered brand and learning how Justin's story unfolded into really leaning into this process. We've got a lot of great lessons for many different executives and leaders out there. And so without any further ado, let's hand it over to Justin Ricklefs. Justin Ricklefs, welcome to the Story Engine podcast.
You are a kind host, Kyle. I'm grateful to be here and looking forward to sharing my story. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You talk a lot about human-centered messaging and branding, and I think that's going to be something even more in demand as more and more of the world becomes robotized and automated in the coming years. But before we get into that exciting stuff, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience by telling us a little bit about who you are and how you're showing up in the world today.
What a lovely question. Yeah, so grew up in Kansas City. We still live in Kansas City. Have taken several detours to get back here. But my wife and I both grew up in KC. We've been married 23 years. Her name's Brooke. Together we have raised 5 humans, 4 daughters, 1 son. Our kids range in age from 22 down to 14. And yeah, in terms of how I'm showing up in the world, I'm interested in this concept of how can we live more fully? How can we be more fully alive as humans? I think there's a spiritual and emotional practice behind that, but in terms of professional exploration, I'm finding lots of life in how do we, as leaders, give a damn. How do we show up with good energy, good curiosity, compassion, clarity, consistency, and also lead in a way that leaves the world a little bit better off? And so there's this really wild, I think, changing landscape in leadership where there are companies who are putting humans first, and they're not sacrificing profit. They're actually growing profit because they're investing in humanity. They're not running away from it. That's a long answer to your awesome question.
That's a great, perfectly calibrated answer to a great question. And I have a similar philosophy, and have explored this a lot myself through the lens of storytelling and speaking from the stage. And I think it ties in really well with your theory of leadership. The way I see things is to get to where many of the people that you work with and I work with and we have to get a few wires crossed along the way.
Oof.
And these wires make us high achievers. And it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing in the very early years of building a business and doing all the things that are necessary to get the business off the ground, working hard, hustling, probably a few late nights here and there. But as we get to the higher echelons of success, we're managing teams. We have a lot of responsibility. We are high achieving selves. There comes a limit where we can't outwork the problems that we have like we used to. And this usually causes limitations and challenges. The leader steps on their team's toes, or they prioritize things like growth or shareholders or profits rather than thinking about actual people because they're overemphasizing their own ability to work hard rather than who they are. And this shows up in talks where leaders are trying to teach everything they know in order to prove themselves as a great person, or giving the best highlights of their stories and being afraid to share anything that's vulnerable. And so, I see this practice playing out in many different ways. And you kind of mentioned like a spiritual and emotional process as separate from this. But to me, it sounds like that's, at least in my experience, that's where the real fulcrum comes in. When we can learn how to tell stories, it changes how we value ourselves as who we are rather than just what we do and what we know. And it allows us to give a damn and changes how we show up as leaders.
Yes, amen, dude. It's I appreciate the segue into the deeper waters, because I do think leaders don't have to do this work. It's not mandated, it's not required, and no one will force you to. But there is an invitation that we all, I think, get to consider when the ways that we built success stop working. And you get the chance, and it's messy and it's hard and it's comes honestly with at great cost, but you get to do some of the deeper human work, the self work, the look in the mirror work. In my case, look at a counselor across the room and figure out, okay, why are all these games I'm used to playing not working anymore? They literally aren't working. And I'm feeling manufactured. I'm feeling like I'm projecting. I feel disconnected from my own inner experience, which ultimately is like, I didn't know who I was. And so there's this great gift that we, again, don't have to walk that road, but the leaders that I know who have walked that road are just incredible in terms of their generosity, in terms of their wisdom, in terms of their guidance, in terms of also their growth. The things they're involved in are growing because they're healthier humans, and that journey is, on the beginning of it, is really terrifying. Actually, it's not fun. It's not like Instagram worthy. It's really messy and it's really disorienting, actually. And so I think of who came to mind when you were talking about that is an author. His name's Paul Young. He actually lives out by you. He wrote The Shack, and through just this mysterious, weird way, a friend named Brad Hill connected me to Paul. And when the Give a Damn book came out on February 18th, Brad threw this crazy caper of organizing a Zoom call at the end of the day with my wife ended up being on it. Our therapist ended up being on it. My good friend Corey Shear was on it. Brad was on it. And Paul Young was on it. And it was a surprise. And on that recording, Paul said, he was like, just remember one thing. He said, and he's like pointing at me. He's like, you are essential. He's like, what you do is not essential. and it's like, of course, it's not that easy to disentangle those two things. But I think leaders, especially when you're building a small business, you get that all like, conflated into one. It's like identity equals success equals value equals essential. And it's like, no, like you as a human are essential, period. End of story. What you do is interesting maybe, but it's not essential. It doesn't define you. And so, yeah, he's who came to mind as you were reflecting.
Beautiful. That sounds like a wonderful, interesting surprise Zoom call.
It was wild. Delightful, actually. Yeah.
I would love to hear maybe some of the signs that people are ready for this journey. You've given a few of these maybe in your own experience of the ways that we built success stopped working and embarking on a terrifying journey. But what else are some signs that people are ready to transform how they're leading? Or maybe they don't feel ready for it, but life's moving them in that direction in the terrifying journey.
Yeah, and I say terrifying, and the other end of that, the other side of that coin is it's liberating, it's life-giving, it's freedom-inducing. But I don't think most willingly sign up for it. At least I didn't. I got,
of course not,
kind of pushed into the hole with a blindfold on, and then the lights ended up coming on, and I'm like, where am I? And it's a really bizarre thing to explain, but I think the signs, if I can kind of wind back my own perspective, is I actually wasn't very vibrant. I was performing. There was a role I was playing. I wasn't a degenerate. I was making money. I was showing up at my job. Like there was evidence that there was some level of performance. So it wasn't necessarily a performance issue. It was a soul numbness. It was a disconnection. It was I was deluded. I was coping. I was numb. I'm just showing up in lots of ways, like social media use or TV watching or my alcohol consumption or my short temper with our kids, right? Like there are some behaviors, but the behaviors weren't the problem. They're just symptoms of this system where I was like, wait a second, like maybe I'm the one that has the issue. and one of our clients that we're working with right now, he's been on his own journey, and he was courageous enough to share some pieces of his story in our discovery session. And he was like, there's a period of time, he built this big, beautiful business. And he's like, there's a period of time where I looked at our executive team and I was like, you guys are a bunch of idiots. He's like, I didn't say that out loud, but that's how I just looked at them and I was like, you guys are idiots. And then he's like, oh, and then he kind of went through his own, caterpillar to butterfly transformation. He was like, oh, I was the idiot. And I was the one that was shallow, scarce, afraid. I think fear for me was ultimately this kind of through line. It's just like, man, I was so afraid. I was afraid of what you think of me. I was afraid of not being enough. I was afraid of being abandoned. I was afraid of all this stuff. But like on the outside, you would have never known. You would have been like, oh, that dude's crushing it. His life looks great on Instagram. And it wasn't all bad by any means, but it is this like bizarre, I think you maybe like that chrysalis, like that transformation of caterpillar to butterfly is maybe the best metaphor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I see it a lot in thinking that your team is idiots. And a lot of the time this is that symptom of, I am the chief problem solver, not the visionary. And my team's idiots because I've trained them that every time they have a problem or a question, they need to come to me and then I solve it for them. And so they don't have any critical thinking or ownership. But I'm afraid of letting go of control. And so I have to solve all the problems for everybody. And this manifests in many different kinds of ways, but it's like a plateau in your business. It's burnout. And I think the little details that you were saying of social media, alcohol, short temper, these behaviors are perfectly pointing to it.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, Kyle, I think again, it's not this easy to diagnose in the moment, but all of those symptoms are ego based. They're small self ego based, where you are the center of the universe. You are the smartest person in the room. You know all the answers, and you must be in control. Which ultimately is a terrible way to live. Let alone your impact. It's just a shitty way to live. Mm-hmm. And the ego is incapable of being generous, open, abundant, connected, empathetic, etc. And it's hard work, because you in part built the thing because you did have answers to some of those questions, but it's such a limiting way to live, let alone lead.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like, I have interviewed over 400 people on this show, and I have heard so many stories of people having this exact experience. And what I find happens is they have to have something so painful that it shakes them out of the stupor. We can't intellectually learn it. We can't, unfortunately for you, read a book and be like totally fixed. Although I love reading books, and we should definitely get your book. But in my experience too, I've gone through all of these things, and I've thought to myself many times, God, I hope I learn these lessons so I don't have to learn these lessons. No, you must get your ass kicked to wake up in one form or another. As much, at least, like, there's plenty of ways to learn, but to get these kind of wake up calls, at least in my experience, despite my best efforts,
100%.
it's what it has to happen. And so, like, yeah, the life looks great on the outside, and something's got to break. It's going to break in your health, it's going to break in your relationships, or your business is going to explode, are the most common ones that I've seen. And then it sets us out on a journey.
Yeah, amen, dude. Yeah, one of the therapists that I've seen over the years, her name's Teresa, and she's so freaking good. And I was expressing this frustration with learning lessons, right? Like this area that I was struggling with, and I was just like, hey, I'm kind of frustrated by this. And she was just so kind, but also direct. And I'm paraphrasing, but she basically said, hey, we're so surprised at learning. The whole point is journey. The whole point is learning. The whole point, like, there's no end line. There's no arrival. There actually might not even be an actual destination, but the journey is the point. And these embracing opportunities of the lessons are the way. And it's like, man, that's right. Because there was, for me, the shame response is so quick to be like, oh, damn it, I shouldn't have done it that way, or I should have already known, or I should have figured this out by now, or shouldn't I have quit having these same kind of frustrations or struggles. And that shame spiral or story, to use your language, is one that I'm quietly starting to turn down and be like, no, this is the way. Like, learning is the way. And for me to have the gift of these lessons is growth, like, period.
Yeah. So through your process and your work with people, from your agency, from your book, through giving a damn, what is better about your process? And when I'm asking this, I'm asking in a very specific way. I'm not asking about the outcomes that come from it, but how we get to the outcomes. We get there faster, easier, more fun, differently. What is unique about what you are sharing with us today that you would like to highlight or showcase?
Yeah, I think what's been really fun, which I like that word that you chose to use, is helping leadership teams understand that they can't buy a human first brand. They have to build one. They can't market their way to generative growth. They have to do the work. And especially as you were talking about earlier, this, highly robotic, technologically advanced, so we think, era that we're in, leaders are really confused, and they're searching for, they're not lacking in, like, work ethic or resources or desire, but they're like, what the hell is the way? What do I do? And so we've, through lots of our own journey as a business over the last 9 years, is we've taken this big, wide portrait of all the possibilities that you can do for quote unquote marketing. And we've just continued to shrink and simplify the focus to say, no, this is the way you build a human first brand. And it all lines up like a really strong spinal cord in the business. And it's 7 core elements. And if you don't have those 7, we got to come back and do the work. And we started, we're not a vendor. We're not like a supplier. We're a business partner to them to help them understand what to prioritize and what to focus on, because they all want growth. They all want to stand out. They all want their story to matter. They all want their team to be engaged and enrolled in what they're doing. And so the specific answer is, like, we're helping companies see that they need to build a human first brand, and that by doing so, they start to change and grow and go on their own journey as leaders. And then the awesome impact is their team actually feels empowered and enrolled in their own brand journey. And then of course the damn world likes working with them. And so they buy more of the stuff because there's documented understanding of how the brand experience works. And so that was a long answer, but the simplification of like, no, it's difficult work to simplify. It's easy to talk about all these, like, yeah, you should show up in AI search and you should invest in SEO and you should go viral on TikTok and you should have all these things. It's hard work to get the leadership team in a room and get really damn aligned on what is your purpose? Why do you exist? Who exactly are you connecting to? What's that core story? And then how does the heartbeat of this brand show up to the internal culture and then the external client experience?
Mm-hmm. And what does this all add up to? It sounds like we get more clients come easier, business runs easier. What does this look like on the other side of this terrifying journey?
As a client of Guild, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, or as a reader of the book, but I think I have an intuition that they're the same thing, just delivered in different ways.
Yeah, I think the leader application, the leader begins to walk this journey of, hey, can I grow in curiosity, compassion, clarity, and consistency so that I change, so that those in my wake start to get healthier, stronger, clearer, more empowered. The really simple metaphor I use from the leadership perspective is we're all walking around with these matchboxes, and we've got the ability in every meeting, every moment, every conversation to strike a match. And we can cause harm, we can burn, we can self-protect and defend with this little flame, or like a Christmas Eve candlelight service, like we can light our colleagues and our clients and our partners matches and let them have more light. And then from a brand standpoint, when you prioritize people, and not in like a codependent, weird, squishy, soft way, but when you prioritize the benefit of another human, that's the best parts of capitalism. It's a valuable exchange for both parties. Both parties feel good. They feel pleasant. They feel delight. And it's not this like win or lose. It's win and win. It's both and. It's not either or. Truett Cathy at Chick-fil-A said, care and commerce can coexist. Like they're both true. And so when a brand believes that their heartbeat that's the product we talk about, when the brand heartbeat pulses really clearly and strongly through the organization, their team has more life. They give a damn about the workplace, and therefore it shows up to the client. It shows up in marketing. It shows up in sales. It shows up in client delivery. It shows up in how you answer the phone. It shows up in how quickly you respond to the email. So when the leadership team focuses and clarifies this work, all of a sudden it becomes the generative engine to growth. It doesn't become this, we did a strategic plan one time. It's in this PDF on the Google Drive that nobody looks at. It becomes an active, generative part of how they behave in the business.
Beautiful. So I want to hear from you or a moment in your life. And you said something earlier that I thought was particularly interesting. You had a shame response moment, and I want to hear about a very specific time and place where your life wasn't very vibrant. You were performing. Things looked successful, but you didn't feel successful. The ways that you used to do things stopped working. Maybe you were frustrated with your own team. There was strain in your family. When was a particular shame response moment for you?
The very first one that came to mind, and maybe it's because I'm writing a piece that I can't quite tie up yet, so maybe you can help me, is I was working for the Kansas City Chiefs and had a big job, great job, lovely job. And I would legitimately tell my colleagues that I was going to a client meeting, and I would go sit in the parking lot at Target, and I would just sit there And I was just numb. And then I'd walk around the store and I'd look at the clearance aisle and I'd walk down the random, I just wandered around. It was the biggest, I love walking. That's different than what wandering. I was just mindlessly numb. And it wasn't any big dramatic thing. It was just this total disconnection. That's the story that came to mind, was me in a sport coat in a nice car, making a bunch of money with a cool job. And I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't even like this place. And it's not their fault. It was my deal. It's a great job, literally the best job in the city that I live in. And I was, at the same time, the shame came in with dude, what's wrong with you? You should be grateful. You would have killed for this job earlier, right? And that conflicted space was one that I lived in for quite a while, and it didn't get more clear. I don't think we drift towards clarity and health and connection. I think we drift towards this isolated. I was just gradually becoming less vibrant, gradually becoming number, gradually becoming my perspective was shrinking into well, I don't know. I guess I'll look at Instagram again. I guess I'll check the ESPN box scores again. I guess I'll play this stupid game on my phone and just shrink, right? And that's what it was. It was this scarcity shrinking until, thank God, my wife loves me enough to be like, dude, what is going on? You should go see a counselor. I'm like, I don't need a damn counselor. And
where did that conversation happen?
Oh, it was at home. It was a Saturday morning. And she's
Where,
like,
what room?
She's like, started in our bedroom. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I think so. I'm fine. That was my go-to. It was I'm fine. Everything's fine. And she's like,
Classic.
Really? Are you fine? I was like, I think I'm fine. and meanwhile, dude, legitimately, my dad was it was 2016. My dad was he was at the hospital undergoing a triple bypass heart surgery. He's alive and kicking it and doing great. He's a wonderful, stubborn, life-giving old man. But at that period of time, it was pretty dicey. And I didn't have the language for it at the time, but that was the prompting to do my own heart work. And you talked about something blowing up earlier. And I'll never forget this. It was in that same kind of late 2016 to early 2017. I can't remember exactly when. But we had a call with our financial planner, and he was like, hey, man, he's like, you've got a lot going on. I was like, I'm fine. And he goes, you're trying to build this side hustle, which is now Guild. You guys have 5 kids. You have this big job, and you're holding a stick of dynamite in your hand. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you can keep holding it and it's going to blow you up. Or if you've got the courage, he's like, go set it on something. He's like, you either got to blow up your family, you got to blow up your side hustle, or you got to blow up your full-time thing. He's like, because you can't do it all. And something's going to break. And I was like, the ego, self-protected response was like, you're full of shit. Mm-hmm. I can do all this. But in hindsight, I'm so grateful for his wisdom, because I was like, okay, I'm going to go blow up my full-time job because I want to be healthy myself. I want my relationships at home to be healthy, and I want to see if this small thing can become a bigger thing. And that's, again, what would have happened had he not said that? I don't know. Something would have blown up, maybe me. But those are the stories that come to mind. And it's that's the shit that nobody writes about that on LinkedIn. I do sometimes every once in a while, but those are the real stories of what it looks like when you're trying to navigate this wild journey called life.
I love it. Perfectly said. One more story. On the other side of this, a moment where you are leading with curiosity, compassion, and consistency. You feel yourself changed. You're healthier. You're maybe on a walk somewhere else, and you recognize the journey that you've been on. Maybe a reflection from your family, your kids, or your wife.
that's another story, of course.
Of
But
course.
I, a friend of mine who's also building a business, he saw it in me. He's like your family's getting a better version of you than they've ever gotten. And to me, it's one singular word, because it's been a damned difficult journey to get to this point, and it will continue to be a dogfight. But it's presence. It's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, today, like right now, this moment, this conversation, like be present. And especially when you've got I like how you talked about like the blessing and the curse, right? Like it's both.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got the delightful disease of being future focused and wanting to build something, you're just, if you don't do the work, you're constantly consumed by what's coming, what's next, where you're going, what you're trying to do. Like you think the next client, the next employee, the next check, whatever is going to satisfy. But it's like, holy shit, like this moment, like this is it. And like, what a gift. And so I've grown tremendously in the powerful moment, like the presence, and practically where that plays out is like, I have all these weird caveats I want to say, like I'm not perfect in this and that. Everybody knows that already. But the reality is like, man, I'm living an ordered life. Like my faith is number one. My own soul health is number two. My family is number three. My wife and my 5 kids, if they share my last name, like they're top of the heap. And then the fourth priority is like, yeah, we got to do some stuff. We got to make money. We got to build a business. We got to have financial health. And then my friends are number 5. And I hope as we get older, like 5 supplants 4. But like to live an ordered life is a really huge gift. And I didn't always live an ordered life.
Where were you when your friend reflected this to you? What was happening?
I was in a CEO roundtable group, and I was talking to them about this amazing opportunity for our business to be acquired. And his comment was like, ugh, your family's got a really awesome version of you right now. You want to go do that again? You want to go get acquired and play a bigger game that you don't have the healthy parts of control over? And I was like, damn, I take your wisdom to heart, because no, I actually don't want that. I want this life right now.
Yeah.
And it was it, but like to your point on vulnerability, it's like when you've got a shared group of, in this case, like friends who are also building businesses, but you can talk about the honest stuff, not just the like P&L. They have the ability to speak into it and see you in a way that you can't see yourself. And it's such a gift.
Beautiful. Justin, are you ready to hear your story?
I can't wait. I've been waiting for 32 minutes.
Pretty much right on time. I can remember pulling up to the Target parking lot. Nice sports car, nice sports coat. Getting out and starting to walk through the clearance aisles, the clothing aisles. I told my team I was on a client meeting. I'm working for the Kansas City Chiefs. I have one of the greatest jobs in the town, something I love in sports. I'm paid well, and somehow I'm lying to everyone I know and trying to escape. And the way that I do it is walking in between the different aisles at Target, totally disconnected. I would look down at my phone, check scores on the sports, check Instagram, play a different game. I would go home and zone out. I would have a short temper with my kids. I would have a drink here and there. And I can remember just walking through these aisles and thinking to myself, what is wrong with you? Why, when you have this amazing job you would have killed for when you were younger, why are you like this? What is your problem? I thought I was hiding it from the world, but of course my wife, not too long after that, in our bedroom on a Saturday morning, sees this same pattern, sees this numbing, sees this tension that's all around me. And she asks, "Are you okay?" And I say the most classic line, "Yeah, I'm fine." "Really?" At this time, my dad's in heart surgery, and I find myself realizing that I need to do some of my own heart work to come back into alignment. But the time that really changed it was sitting down with my financial planner across from him at his desk. And he said, "You've got a lot going on. You've got side hustle, you've got kids, you've got this big job, and you're holding a stick of dynamite in your hand, and something's going to blow up. But you've got the choice. It can be yourself, it can be your family, it can be the side hustle, or it can be your job, but something's got to give." And I'm so grateful for that moment, because I don't know what would have blown up if I had let it do its own thing. But I decided I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to have a better life. And I decided to blow up the job, which started a journey in building Guild Collective for real. And I wanted to do something that I could help create something for teams, for people, for leaders that was truly unique and uncopyable. A human first brand that you can't buy, you can't market your way to. It has to be something that's deep in who you are. I wanted a way that could take all of your ambition and all of the things going on in your business, all of the brilliant ideas, and simplify it down to what's most essential so that you and your whole team can get behind it easier and faster. And I wanted to create something that wouldn't just attract more customers and be better marketing, but it would change and empower my team and me as a leader to be more human. Now, this took many years, and it took a lot of costly and painful mistakes. But I started building this process and this system, not only in Guild Collective, but in many of the people that we worked with. And this company grew over the years. Our team grew. And I can remember a few years later sitting in a CEO roundtable and having a discussion about the possibility of having this company be acquired. And I can remember one of my friends sitting across from me and saying, what are you doing? You've built something so beautiful, and it's not just impacting your team, but your family is getting a better version of you. Do you really want to go back into the grinder where you don't have full control and do all of those things over again? And it was in that moment I realized how far I had come. I had built a real human-centered business, and I was helping so many other people do that. That's like real capitalism. That's what I really want to do and create in its most beautiful form. And I decided not to sell. And so it was for me wandering through the halls of Target where I started to explore the disconnect between all of my ambition and what I really was calling for deep down in my soul. For you, you might be experiencing this disconnect in your family, in your health, in your business. But sooner or later, these things always come forward. And I want to help you come back into alignment with yourself, with your business, with your team, with your family, by building a brand that truly supports all of that. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today.
Bro. I mean, I think we're still recording here, but I'm like, holy shit. I have a lot of gratitude, man. Like, just to hear that reflected back is like, whew. It's a lot. And it's really good. That was wild. That was a wild experience to listen to, if I'm honest.
Thank you. It's an honor.
You probably get that a lot.
It's fun. It's fun to serve, and it's fun to show people themselves in a brand new way.
It's powerful, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope this can help you with that writing you mentioned, and with more opportunities on more podcasts and more stages to share who you are and the philosophy of your upcoming book. To close things out, do you have any closing thoughts for us, and where can we go to get a hold of the book or get ready for the book and learn more about you and Guild Collective?
I gotta like pick my heart up off the ground, bro. I'm like, whoo. Yeah, that was a really powerful experience, and I'm a believer in story too. It's what we remember, it's what we care about, it's what we tell, and to shape a story that does have the struggle, but also shows the payoff and shows the journey is really powerful, man. So I just want to tell you that I'm thankful for that. Yeah, people can find the book on Amazon. Just search "Give a Damn." It's a big, bright yellow cover right here with a match on it. And you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I write the most frequently, at least. But I just have a lot of gratitude, dude. I'm searching for words because they aren't coming. So I'll just tell you thank you.
I appreciate it. Justin Ricklefs, thank you so much for joining us today on the Story Engine podcast.